Morning, guys. We got Onyx out, Dalmatian, and Onyx is a very good example of what most dogs are like a lot of times with pet quality. People that don't know what they're doing down, and the dog becomes very spoiled. They've humanized the animal too much. This is actually a very intelligent, smart animal, and he's just being hard-headed and rolling over the top of the owners because they don't know what they're doing and they don't keep a good enough structure and making sure that they're the boss. They've humanized the dog. Nope. So I will come at him a little stronger than most because of the fact that he's basically spoiled. He has to learn that there's gravity and there's consequences. And him being a brat, right? So it's basically, you might look at it as an attitude adjustment. Nope. You're down. Good. So main thing is consistency and teaching him there's consequences is him not complying to what I want. You've got to teach. You have a teaching stage, and then there's a stage where it depends on the dog, but in his case, that we'll start implementing corrections and teach him there's a consequence. Why? Because he's rolled over the top of his owners, and he's taught them and trained them. And because of that, they don't have the control they need, and he's a little bit of a brat, right? Sit. Good. Come on. There you go. Good. So we just got to teach him where positive and negative's at, and let him understand that there's a consistency in what we expect out of him. He's very receptive to food. He showed me he's a very intelligent dog, so we've got plenty to work with. This little pawing and all this, it's because he wants what he wants, and he's learned that he can just bowl over. He has a tendency to want to jump on you, and that comes from them doing a hugging routine. They thought it was cute. Yep, but they don't realize that's a dominant posture that the dog's learning to take advantage of you. Down. Good. And so this week is going to be a lot of work and a little bit of an attitude set from me that he's got to do what he's got to do whether he likes it or not. So, and again, keep in mind, when I talk about all this stuff, every dog is different. They're all individuals, just like you or I, right? They're very unique and very individualistic. There's no Mark Ferrasci's, there's no other ones that are exactly like me. There's only one me, right? Yep, dogs are the same way. They have a personality, they have a breed type that gives you the knowledge of what the breed type is and understanding. He's not going to be like a cockapoo, you know what I'm saying? Every breed's going to kind of have a tendency to be a certain way. They're all a dog, though. They all got 4 legs, and they all live in the dog's mental mind state of mind, right? As long as you understand the psychology of dogs, you're going to do a lot better than when you try to humanize them. And that's the issue. Down. People want to humanize their dog. They've gone to a point where they want a couch potato, and they want to go, oh, my little snookums, and they do things for different reasons in a human perspective, right? Our perceptions are totally different than what the dogs are, right? Everything's related to where the dog's head's at. What is his perspective in what's going on? Well, it's been formed and affected by his owners and how they treat him, and he's turned into a brat, basically, in a nutshell, right? So they've got to understand that structure and consistency in that structure is the key with a dog like this. Good. So we'll get him there, and I really like the fact he's so receptive to food. This is the key. Watch him watch my hands. See him? He's intent on where this food's coming from. And that's good. It gives me what I need to work with, right? Onyx. Good. Onyx. Yep. Good. There you go. Pattern and routine. Up. Down. Good. There you go. That starts my down on the walk. I can get creative with it. I'm going to work him, and I'm going to work the Cane Corso, and then I'll go to town and we'll start doing some environmental and get him out in public. He has a tendency to be a little reactive, and that's just not knowing what they're doing, and that's not their fault. They've got to learn what causes reactivity and understanding no. Good. Down. Good. Understanding where the dog's head's at. And a lot of times these in-kennel board and trains, in kennel training. Nope. Good. You're down. Nope. Come here. Is all about down. Good. Allowing me to get inside the dog's head, because people don't have the skill that I do, and 30, 40 years doing this, close to 40. It's hard for me to do the math. Nope. And what I got to do is concentrate. He's showing me that he doesn't understand it. So now I'm going to concentrate on it at a breakdown. Step back, and now I'm going to do Good. Pattern set, right? Good. Food goes to him. Distractions. Moving around. Good. The 3 Ds. And I'm going to come back at it because he's showing me that he's not grounded well enough to be able to do a downstay. So now I'm going to back up a couple steps, right? Nope. Good. And then come back with pattern that teaches him what I want. Yep. I'm going to get him placed back on the table again. We're going to come back at it again with a nice pattern structure. Nope. Good. Up. Good. Notice I kept him back farther on the table. Down. So I had the room up here to be able to put the food. Good. And then it's a consistent pattern. I bounce away. Good. And then as time goes along, I'll break those patterns and we'll start to mix up a little bit more. But good. If you watch my body language, I'm telling the dog what I'm going to do with a nice little pop, pop, right? And then I'm coming right back, and that spot will be where I start. And then go back to center and start my pattern set of how I build the downstay. It all starts with the food between the legs. Good. And pause levels, time levels that the dog can relate to. Good. And then consistency in that. And then you stretch it. Later on, it'll be more of a time level. Good. Now I'm going to try to clock him now, see if we get it. All right. Nope. Good. Nope. Good. He has to learn there's a consequence when he breaks. Good. Good. Notice the pause level right when I get back. So the exercise is not finished until I get back to his other side. And then a pause. Good. And then maybe even a break, right? Good. Onyx. Good. Onyx. Yep. Good boy. There you go. Good boy. All right. Then we break into other things and we come right back to that. Think of it like a puzzle. Each piece is being built. This is a downstay piece. Then I have an explosion release. Yep. Then to the bowl, right? And then I do this little pattern for a while, teaching the dog what I want in this rounding, stepping backwards. Now this is what they call rear end awareness. And I'll say it again, I always say that, repeat myself. The dog has whiskers for a reason. Mother Nature gave him that. When he's chasing his prey, chasing after a rabbit, that rabbit will go anywhere. These whiskers tell him where he's at. So if a rabbit dives into a briar patch, the dog will follow, and he got whiskers to teach him, to allow him to not get his eye poked out, right? They're very aware of and have a high degree of awareness on the front end because it all comes from the chasing the prey and then going after things. That happens in the front end of the dog. The back end, they have no awareness at all of. So when we do this little stepping you see me doing, we call it back end awareness, and we're teaching the dog, nope, to basically step and start moving his back end. And as we go along, later as time goes along, we'll start getting heel, where the dog understands he's got to go all the way back over to my side. This dog doesn't have enough of it yet, right? Now, with a dog like this is pet quality dog. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because it gives me something to be able to teach the dog that all has the same things built into it and layered into it as far as no, good, and yes, and giving him something that I want him to do for me so he learns where those rewards are coming from as far as his actions cause me to give him his food. So it's nothing more than a pattern that he understands. Place, yes, right away he got food when he did that, right? When he complies with what I want, yes, he gets his marker. That positive marker, it's called the terminal bridge marker. That's YES, or my clicker could be the same. I don't have a clicker with me, so I'm just using yes. I always build in the clicker, though, in the very beginning so that I can always have it to use because it's the one that's going to have the best in timing and have the least amount of over awareness. In other words, the click is only one sound. It always sounds exactly no, good, the same way. And there's a lot less environmental things that he has to work out, and we want to make sure it's called clarity, guys. It's called clarity in training, and there's a reason that I do this because I want to have as much clarity as possible. And I'll give you a good example of that. We got some guys out there right now that are doing a lot of bite work, and they're out there and they're spiraling a dog like a Dutch Shepherd or a Malinois up And that's all they believe in, because they want the dog going way up and high, and then they go after their thing. But what they do is they scatterbrain the dog. The dog ends up being a creature that ends up getting too much stimulation given to him, and they spiral the dog up. And yes, prey drive is important. They're doing sport, and they're doing some things. They really believe in this, and I'm trying to get across to them that they need to understand every dog is different. And I have tools in my tool bag that I can use, but I don't use that same tool. I don't live in a rut where that's all I do, and this is the whole pattern that I constantly live by, okay? And that's the only end thing that I can use. They're using a flirt pole on the line, and they're spiraling these dogs up, and the dog's brain goes to a very hectic place. Certain breeds, I need to bring up drive. Your Mastiff breeds, things like that, that flirt pole is a godsend. Put a weak dog and then a strong dog, and you balance that line agitation where you're getting what you need to out of that tool. But I don't leave a dog on the line all the time. I don't use a flirt pole for 2 years, and that's all I'm doing. I realize and I understand, in my perspective, in my point of view, my opinion, is that good. That every dog is different, and that flirt pole, that rag on the end of it, is only one tool that I can use and pull out when I need to. I'm not going to live by it, right? I'm going to probably go to it a lot more often, good, when I'm dealing with a Mastiff breed or things that are a lot more sedate and have a lot less motivation in that regards. They don't spiral up. With a Dutchie and a Malinois, all I got to do is say boo, and their thresholds are different. We call it thresholds, right? The threshold is a lot lower with a Malinois or a Dutch Shepherd. All I have to do is just kind of twitch, and the dog's going to go off. Right? The Mastiff breed may need a lot more to get he has a lot higher threshold. In other words, a lot more work has to be done to stimulate that dog into what we need towards the bite work. And that's just one example. And what I'm trying to get across to you when I'm talking about this is that it's all about understanding that you have a whole bunch of tools. And then the more you work with different, clicker's a tool, my yes marker's a tool, the flirt pole when they're doing the bite work, sleeves, all these are tools. And I have to understand that that's just put in my tool bag. And when I look at the dog and I feel what I'm working on, I get to a point where, no, good. Okay? So he has to understand he's just too much. And then that transfers into no, good. Into the dog taking advantage of you and everything else. In other words, where's the dog's head's at when he's doing all this? You are his, and he is basically controlling you in his environment, not the other way around, right? Good. All right, so back to the tool aspect of things. Remember, when you're working with something, it should be thought of as only a tool that you can use, and where that tool is most applicable, you're going to use it. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong. Does it work for them to do that? Sure, it does. But so many of these kids that go through that environment that they've got down there in the inner city think that that's the only reason to do it. Once somebody told me something, one of my trainers that was in that group for the long time, I've known the man for 30 years, told me that Malcolm, the old man that they respect so much, was their mentor that started them all, and they all know who Malcolm is. When I say that, I used to hang with him a lot, way back in the days of Caesar when we were 30, 20 years ago. Now it's probably going on 30 years. A lot of years, but we used to hang out in the back alleys, and believe it or not, Caesar knows how to work a dog and protection, all of that. He understands it. We did a lot of tabletop training back then when nobody was doing tables, and we introduced it, and I introduced it to Caesar, and then we built this whole thing. We were using round tables, square tables. Caesar had all three of those built at his place on 163rd in South Central. We had square tables, we had round tables, we had all of it. Okay, and we were very heavy into it. Me and Caesar were hanging together, and we were doing a lot of it, and we introduced it to all these guys down in the inner city. And it was very controversial back then. There was a lot of people that didn't believe in the tables, and they slowly but surely grew, and now everybody's using tables, right? You'd only see them using in law enforcement. David Reaver was heavy into it. A lot of the guys in the San Diego Police Department, I won't say names in that regards, but there's people out there that have a lot of history in using these tools that were in areas, but the public never saw it being used. So they didn't have to suffer that negativity that came from the community. When we first started using clickers, there were so many people that were anti, it wasn't even funny. They poo-pooed it and they thought it was the worst. And then slowly it grew and slowly it took off and now everybody uses clickers. Nope. Nope. Good. You down, stay. Good boy. Good. Good. So just remember that there's tools that are used that need to grow. Good. And like I said, now everybody uses tables. The bark box is actually something that's more new. It's newer on the scene than any of them. The round table, square table, and what was called the long table was started many years ago by another trainer that's no longer with us. And I'm doing a brain blank right now what his name was, but he's basically the one that's the godfather of the table. He's the one that started it all. And then he brought it into the law enforcement. The guys up in San Diego were using it in law enforcement. So was David Reavers at Alderhorse. They were all using the tables and it wasn't seen that much. Because if you notice one thing, the SEALs, the military and everything, you don't see all kinds of film all over the place on them. They don't show it to you. You don't see it. It's like there's one trainer online right now that's retired that's talking about his history and going over in the sandbox and dealing with a lot of the dogs over in that military aspect of things. And he gets no respect, but he should have a world of respect because he was out there doing it, right? He was living the life of having to deal with all the things that they had to deal with in a war situation in the sandbox and with the canines, right? There's a lot of history in our profession. And I'm sad to say that it'll probably get lost. The names that I drop right now are from because I'm so into knowing who's who and what skills they have and what they bring to the table, because that's how I learn and grow, right? Constantly. So now it's Michael Reavers that's taken over Alderhorse Police Canine Kennels. That's David's son. And he went through the military and did a lot of the procurement for the military through his dad. For the last couple of years he was in the military, Dave would go over do his buy trips and Michael would hang behind him and they would bring the military with him so that they learned the bloodlines that are over in Europe and all these things that David acquired over years of experience that's been handed down to Michael and to the military in that regards for those groups that are doing it for real, right? Good. So the history in our profession is important. Who's who and what they mean to our profession, whether you realize it or not. That is the shoulders that we are all standing on top of to become who we are in the profession, right? Good. I've just been around for 30, 40 years, and I know that. A lot of these people don't realize that I had a mailing list on the internet before there was an internet. Before Leoberg showed up, I remember him showing up, the controversy that was created because Mr. Leoberg wanted to... actually Frawley is his name, but he wanted to get into being online and selling his product, and he's done it. He's created a whole thing that's a big part of our industry. Michael Ellis, a big part of our industry. He's now taken over, used to be Kohler, however you want to pronounce it, Kohler's Guard Dog Training Book. William Kohler was where we all started learning, and we had a whole phase and time period where we were all yanking and cranking on dogs, right? And that came from avoidance and escape, which is basically the method that William Kohler was using. We didn't have the internet back then, right? Good. And Michael Ellis was here in the LA area. I never got to meet him. I've seen him one time at a trial. We shook hands, but he doesn't know me from Adam. But that man, Michael Ellis, is now synonymous with what all of us are doing in the profession. Just like all of us were following William Kohler's methods of avoidance and escape, it now turned into Michael Ellis. No, good, and yes, and most trainers are all doing some form of food, click, some form of positive with toys, food, motivational methods. It's all being done because of the influence that Michael has on the industry. And one day, God willing, the river don't rise, I'll get a chance to get to meet him. I've got to a seminar with Forrest Mickey, who is a protege of Michael Ellis. But Forrest is a phenom all to himself in perfection and healing and all this bunch of things. And he's a communicator. He's the one that really actually helped Ed Frawley put together the communication, the syllabus, and all that stuff with all those different lessons on his site and on his area of Leoberg and what they built up. Forrest is a big part of that because he was a communications major. And he took all that knowledge and put it back into helping him put together that program. Good. It's still Michael. In the root of everything, it comes back to Michael Ellis being such an influence on our profession. Good. So a little history and a little bit side thing. I need to give him a break. I'm yakking so much that it's not fair to him. Stay. Good. Good boy. Onyx. Yep. Good boy. We're done, buddy. We're done. I want to see how you do with balls now, Onyx. You like balls? Do you? Huh? Yeah. All right, guys. Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training, out here yakking the screen as always with Onyx. Hi, babies. Hi. Talk to you later. Onyx, down. Good. You stay. Good.